Biological conflicts need a biological solution, which is another thing we have to understand. When medical practitioners, including alternative medicine practitioners, don't know causes, they can't eliminate them. With conventional psychology, you can't get anywhere. Nor with esotericism, with which Germanische Heilkunde has nothing to do. Rather, a look into the animal kingdom helps us. Animals in the wild are a little wiser, biologically. They solve their conflicts instinctively. Unfortunately, we humans in our civilization scrap society, as Dr.Hamer calls it, have forgotten how to do this. So we're going to learn to use our conscious minds, to control what was previously in our bodies, which was previously in our unconscious. As a reward for our efforts, I hold out the prospect that we can finally become our own healers. Even more, we can help our dear relatives to heal. Ernst Haeckel, 1834–1919, was a physician who coined the expression. Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. In plain language, embryonic development of the individual is a repeat of the phylogenetic development of the species. In other words, during these 9 months of pregnancy in our mother's womb, we pass through the entire human species development, which is estimated to have taken a few 100 million years. Haeckel is officially considered controversial. But Dr. Hamer thinks Haeckel is right. Dr. Hamer can confirm Haeckel's opinion through brain relays in the brain, and based on organ remnants from great prehistory, still present in our bodies. For example, many millions of years ago humans were female. Remains of this can still be seen today in men, with their nipples. Why should Mother Nature give nipples to the man? To play with? Many people, especially those who take the Bible literally, the creationists, have a big problem with the idea that we humans should have common roots with the animal. According to the creationists, 5,777 years ago, God snapped his fingers, and human beings were installed. Naked on earth, in their present form. Similar to the movie Terminator. As a professing non-religious person who only worships creation, I have no problem with the idea that as a mammal, I have something in common with my Rottweiler dog Emma. She has eyes, ears, and mouth. Lungs, heart, skin, etc. like me. She eats and shits, like me. She also reproduces similarly. She can feel fear, joy, anger, and boredom, like me. She loves to socialize, and has a penchant for games, like me. I find my dog very likable, and I like her very much. She also has a psyche, like me. And she can suffer conflicts like me. As a non-religious person, what's mysterious for me is living in and of itself. What makes life? What is the difference between living and not living? How did it come about? No one can explain it. Nor has it ever been observed that from the non-living, something living would arise. Take note. Dr. Hamer has discovered 5 biological natural laws in the living. Life was given to us, and we can pass it on. I believe that passing on life is also our sacred duty to creation, and an essential part of the meaning of our existence. Moreover, our children and grandchildren give us so much in return. If one now looks back into embryonic development, one can say that our ancestor must have once been a ring-shaped, worm-like creature. Sea anemones still look like that today. The ancestral ring-formed creature had a primordial mouth. And with this one opening, it took in food and excreted feces. This little animal was solely a digestive machine, and had only one thing in mind, to eat and to reproduce. This little animal did not want more from life. It did not yet know social behavior. At this stage, it did not yet distinguish between partner and mother-child. Handedness had no meaning here yet. The little animal lived in the primeval sea. In the further course of its developmental history, there was a rupture of this ring structure, which made our upright walk possible. This straightening was not at the head, as shown in this diagram, but at the larynx. Let's look at the scientific diagnostic chart of Germanische Heilkunde. Here you will find a tabulation and correlation of the cause. That is, the conflict shock, DHS, the associated conflict content, and the organ symptom. In the first column, you will find the relevant special program. For example, intestinal cancer, breast cancer, and so on. In the second column, The cause, that is the associated conflict content at the moment of the shock. Morsel conflict for intestinal cancer. Worry conflict for breast cancer, and so on. The conflict shock always meets 3 criteria: highly acutely dramatic felt, isolative, and catching one on the wrong foot. Whatever is associated, at the moment of DHS determines the location of the Hamer focus in the brain, and thus the organ symptom. Nature Associates. We now seek to understand this biological language. In the third column, you will find the location of the Hamer focus in the brain. In the active phase, the Hamer focus is shaped like a shooting target, a bullseye. In the healing phase, edema, connective tissue fluid, is stored within the Hamer focus, until the crisis occurs. All B crises are symptoms of the brain. All B crises are symphatic-atonic with narrowing of the vessels, and often cold sweat. One is cold and also feels cold. With B crisis, this edema is squeezed out, keyword, peeing phase. Then, at the end of the healing phase, glia, specialized connective tissue on the nerves, is deposited in the area of the Hamer focus. Depending on the load of conflict, B crisis can be a split-second spike. Or it can also last several days. Conspicuous crises like epilepsy, absent thinking, migraine or heart attack, are types of cerebral cortex crises. In the fourth column, you will find the symptoms of the conflict active phase. There are 3 groups of special programs. The first group causes cell proliferation, tumor. The second group causes cell loss, necrosis, ulcers. And the third causes loss of function, neither cell proliferation nor cell loss. In the fifth column of the diagnostic chart, you will find the symptoms of the conflict resolved phase. That is, the symptoms of the healing phase. In the first group, we find tuberculous degradation of the previously developed tumor. In the second group, we find healing swellings of the previously formed necroses and ulcers. And in the third group, the function returns. In the middle of the healing phase, we also find different types of crises, which, as I mentioned, are all symptoms of the brain. Endoderm, inner germ layer. Dr. Hamer has now sorted all organs, according to the different tissue types, the germ layers. There are 3 germ layers, but there are actually 4 different tissue types. The glandular tissue, or endoderm, also called the inner germ layer, is colored yellow, in Germanische Heilkunde. In these special programs, we always find the Hamer focus in the brainstem. Ectoderm, outer germ layer. The squamous epithelium, or ectoderm, is also called the outer germ layer. It is shown in red. In these special programs, we always find the Hamer focus in the cerebral cortex. Mesoderm, middle germ layer, old. The middle germ layer, or mesoderm, is divided into an older group, the glandular-like tissue. Hatched yellow and orange. In these special programs, we always find the Hamer focus in the cerebellum. Mesoderm, middle germ layer, new. And in this younger mesoderm group, the connective tissue. The color used for this is orange. With these special programs, we always find the Hamer focus in the cerebral medulla. Organs of each germ layer. Each organ of each germ layer has a corresponding brain relay of that germ layer. The brainstem controls glandular tissue and smooth muscles. The cerebellum controls glandular tissue. The cerebral medulla controls connective tissue, and the cerebral cortex controls squamous epithelium and functional loss. Slowly, an order becomes evident, doesn't it? Which organ tissue reacts?
Germanische Heilkunde is considered the greatest discovery in the history of humanity, by those people who have understood its underlying principle. While classical medicine is based on more than 5,000 hypotheses, the Germanische Heilkunde can be considered as the only medicine, which is scientifically verifiable. With Germanische Heilkunde, for the first time in the history of humanity as we know it, there is a medicine with which any patient case can be reproduced in a strictly scientific manner. More than 30 different universities have already confirmed this in the past. Nevertheless, the discovery of Dr. Hamer has been suppressed and denigrated for over 30 years. Take your health into your own hands, and learn about Germanische Heilkunde, while you are still healthy. Helmut Pilhar, one of 3 lecturers, officially appointed by Dr. Hamer for Germanische Heilkunde, offers you an extensive and complete seminar collection for this purpose. which is now also to be translated into the English language. This knowledge will change your view of conventional medicine forever. You can find a direct link to Helmut Pilhar's seminar videos in the description below this video.